Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Jay Gantz. I'm the librarian here, Front Range Community College, Boulder County campus. And today we will be with Aaron Allen and Ken Monks will be joining us shortly for their presentation on FRCC's OER Adventures in Calculus.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. I should still be in the corner and it's really blurry. Give me a sec. There we go. Not blurry, you can see me in the corner here.
Yep,
Hello.
gotcha.
So we have been working on adapting, or not adapting, but sort of building new materials for the calculus classes here at Front Range BCC. Um, I'm going to start this journey a little bit in media res because I wasn't exactly here for the beginning of it. So I'm going to let Ken kind of once he gets here talk a little bit about where he began, what his why he wanted to do this, and where he started. But I've sort of jumped in the past year or so. I last summer I taught my section of Calculus 2 off of Ken's OER materials, and it was a really great semester. And there were a few things that I wanted to change. And the best thing about OER is that you can change it. So most recently, we got a grant. Actually, we ended up being approved for two grants, one for Calculus 1 and one for Calculus 2, to revisit a bunch of OER materials and work as basically in a small team to make sure that the materials are as good as they can be, and to develop a bunch of auxiliary support in case that it wants to be implemented in a different setting than a face-to-face classroom, or in by other instructors, with the hope of eventually being able to make this more widely available and more widely usable. So um, there's a bunch of different things that we've been doing. Uh, the biggest hurdle that had to start was writing the text in the first place. And this is something that Ken started on, I think, about 3, 4 years ago, I want to say. And he's been, I think he started with a president's grant, and he's been supported by a couple of other OER grants throughout the process. And we are fortunate in that in mathematics we have a really nice sort of common's not maybe the right word, but a typesetting interface called LaTeX that allows us to typeset really nice mathematics. And it allowed us to build this really, really, what I think of as like a very nice, beautiful textbook. So um, this is actually the screen that we see when we're editing, but it exports the file as a PDF file, so it's a really accessible document. Students can download it, they can access it offline, they can print it, they can bring it to Office Depot, get it printed out for $25 if they want. Um, but the online has some really nice benefits, like having the PDF file. We have hyperlinks built into the PDF file, so you can just click onto a section and it takes you there. And the nice thing about being able to build our own textbook here is that we were able to sort of build something that really reflects our move and our pivot towards active learning. Something that is not just words on a page that students read and then don't retain. It asks students to work through materials. It's almost an activity book in a lot of places. So that's been a very enjoyable adventure. Um, the thing that we've been doing over the last probably couple of weeks is with the most recent grant is we're sort of revisiting a lot of the materials that we had to begin with, because we found that there were some sections that were written that didn't really reflect the curriculum, or we were missing some spots or something like that. So being able to have the class run by actually three of us, me, Ken, and Joe, who is an instructor here at BCC that teaches Calc 2, we've been able to have a lot of different perspectives and sort of find a lot of different things to fix and improve. So The textbook is where it all started. We've been working on this and reorganizing it and rebuilding it. Actually, the current grant work, there's three of us working on it, and we've got this giant to-do list that we've been mashing our way through. The biggest thing that we are working on today, like as of this moment, is online homework. And there are a lot of online homework platforms available. A couple of them, so Lumen and Affinity are two that stand out as being really good low cost options. But at Front Range, we actually have available a Webwork server. So Webwork is, it's actually the Webwork interface is sort of the bones by which a lot of the mathematical online homework programs actually use. It's an open source language that allows you to write problems with answers, and students sort of see it as is. The Webwork server is definitely something that's a little bit more bare bones than you would see on Pearson, right? There's not as many graphics and things like that, but it does what it needs to do. And the most important thing about this Webwork server is that I believe it's a CCCS server, and it's free to access both for students and for us. So there's no fees involved. It's provided by the colleges. And it allows students to basically, what you can do as an instructor is you can pull up a library browser, and you can select a homework set that you're populating problems into, just like something like Affinity or Lumen or some other homework problem thing. And you can select from certain subjects and find a bunch of problems and just add them to your problem set, right? The nice thing here is that it produces the problems, and these problems are exactly what the students see when they sit down and start working on the homeworks. So you can just add them to homework sets that way. The way the students see it, they come in, they see their course, they see the homework sets that are open. It gives them the due dates for it, and they can just jump right into the homework sets here and work on their homework problems. Nope, I don't want to save this sample student password I made. And it gives them the problems one by one, and they can type in their answers. So the other big thing that so this is something that we've been working on. This is the big goal of our current grant, is to build a robust set of online homework to partner with the text for basically for use in the classroom, so that there's not the burden on other types of homework problems or asking students to sort of study independently. It also makes it more available and useful in other classes and platforms. Another big thing that we've been working on through the process is actually this is a Joe project for the most part. We have a version of the textbook that is in the form of slides. So this is I'm personally not a slideshow person in person. I prefer to talk and write. I find that when I am, and this is something I can feel myself doing right now because I'm not writing while I'm talking. When I talk and I'm not writing, I go way too fast and I just talk. Nobody has time to learn anything. But we do have these slides, and these slides are adapted from the text. They have almost all of the same material from the text. They're just formatted differently. So it has examples and work through examples from the text, and then it also has the problem sets for students to work on, just like the problems in the text. Like I said, this is something that Joe has been working on a lot, and he also has and has been building and is working on sort of revising a set of videos. So there are video lectures and video examples for a lot of these example problems that also come along with the course. So those are things that are really useful if you're thinking about trying to do something like a flipped classroom type environment where students aren't doing lecture in class or potentially in the online environment. Something where we have videos that we feel really confident with, done by instructors at our institution, that we can give to students that sort of show them the material. So that's a bunch of what we have been working on. Unsurprisingly, as usual, Ken is late. So I I was hoping that he would show up before I talked too awfully much. Um, but yeah, that's sort of where our journey has begun and keeps going. We're doing similar work in Calculus 1. We have a similar text. We're not as developed. We haven't done slides or any videos for that class yet. But our intention is to develop online homework for that as well. So, trying to think about other things that I want to mention here.
Aaron, I have a
perfect. If you want to go ahead, I can field that question real quick while he's getting set up.
What has been the students' response to the?
So the student response has been mostly very positive. I've found they enjoy the text. It's been a really good setting for them to practice with. A lot of them are extremely happy that they don't have to fork out $120+ for a textbook. And there's a few students that are a little bit jaded about it. They're a little bit worried that, like, oh my, this is written by the professor that taught the class or whatever. Like, this must be garbage, and they're just trying to scam me, or they're full of themselves. But I think once they start using it and in the classroom, it's been really, really effective, and it's been a really good encouragement towards active learning. So,
great.
Anyways, Ken, I sort of started. I had to start in the middle because I don't know. Well, I have ideas about why you did this whole thing, but I didn't want to speak for you. So if you want to start from the beginning.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing the beginning, and apologies everyone for being late. My son had an appointment until 11:15, so it took me 10 minutes to get him to kid care before I could hop on. So, yeah, thanks so much for getting started, Aaron. Maybe I'll start by following up a little bit about what was just asked. I would say the thing about student buy-in that surprised me the most, actually, is a lot of them, or the student reaction to it is it definitely helped with buy-in, like on the first day, right? You say, hey, look, I created / sourced / edited / customized / pruned, whatever verb, it doesn't have to be that you wrote the whole thing yourself, but that whatever, I took the time to do this to make sure you had good quality free course materials, and it really helped the student buy in. It like their attitudes were really positive. Like it was on that first day, it was like, oh, my instructor cares about me. My instructor, like you could tell they appreciated it, and yeah, it was cool. It was super cool. Yeah, that was my overwhelmingly, that's been the experience there. I've had one or two, like Aaron said, there'll be one or two in every class who will say, I don't know, they'll sort of just be they'll say maybe something grumpy on the student evaluations, like oh, why are we using second rate materials, or let's just use the professional stuff. But in most cases, I kind of feel like that student, had I used Stewart on the course evals, the student would have complained about the price of Stewart. Like it was kind of just the student who wanted to complain, not so much a specific complaint about the text. Was kind of my impression. So, yeah. Oh yes, Stacey, exactly, right. Any policy or assignment, right? You'll get at least one who's just sort of like not feeling it.
100%. Someone will push back on everything. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, Ken, do you want to kind of start at the beginning?
Sure.
Why did this project start? When did it start? And yeah,
totally. Yeah. The history on it, honestly, is just that I mean, the honest truth was I specialized in combinatorics in grad school. And then after spending 6 years thinking about combinatorics, I came to this job at Front Range and they asked me to teach calculus. And I was like, wow, well, that's interesting. I don't really know anything about calculus, right? Yes, technically I'm a mathematician and technically I took a course on this 10 years ago when I was an undergraduate, right? But I don't actually really know much about it, right? So, of course you do what you do and you start reading and you start investigating, and you start finding materials. And it was one of those things where, I sort of by default started with just what the previous instructor was using and just a little bit, here and there. I think especially because my background was so different, I was like, oh my goodness, wait, how could they not talk about this? Or why would they not show it this way? This is a way more elegant way to present that same idea. They made a mess out of that. So then just one or two topics each semester, I would put together just some custom notes, just some custom worksheets, just a custom assignment, right? Just because the book that I inherited from Christy Gomez was teaching the class before I did, and she was using Larson, which is a perfectly good book. It's very thorough, it's very comprehensive, it's good, it's very polished, and it was also really expensive. But that's how it started. Was each semester I would teach the same class, and I would take one topic and feel like I improved how it was written. Like, okay, this is better. And we'll use the book most of the semester, but then on this day I have my own notes, my own assignment, my own in-class activity, and then iterate that. You teach a class 10, 15 times, right? And then it's like, man, I have a big pile of stuff here. If I just like take a summer and actually like really put all of this together and organize it and get a table of contents and an index, and that's actually not a bad book, right? And fortunately, Front Range was fabulous with the innovation grant. Back then, there weren't OER specific grants at Front Range. It was just called innovation grant, right? And it could be for OER or any other project, right? And so Andy kindly granted a innovation grant so I didn't have to teach one summer. That instead I could take the time to take this giant pile of custom worksheets and kind of put all the mortar between I had the bricks, right? You just put all the mortar, and so that was how it got off the ground. What was super fun about it, and this is also something the students like. I love writing mathematics. I'm not great with illustrating mathematics. One of my students had been doing that on her homeworks. She had been building these beautiful custom diagrams in Asymptote, which is like a math graphics rendering soft language, I guess you could say. She had been doing that in her homework. So what was cool is they let me earmark some funds for that student to make illustrations for the book. So that was super cool. And that's also something I think the students like about it is I tell them like, hey, this was, my name's on the materials, but so is my former students, right? Aaron, could we pull up the
I'm working on it. I got
okay.
I got a PDF rendering error, so I'm currently pulling up the old version of the book. Yes, I will have that up in just a second.
Yeah, take your time. But yeah, so she and the students like that too, like saying like, hey, a former student helped me create these materials. They always seem to react really positively to that, and they think that's really cool. I think it makes them feel connected to the materials, right? Like, oh, this was developed here at my institution, and someone who took this class worked on this. That's cool, But yeah, so she made these really, yeah, you can see all the diagrams. Those are all from Jenna Allen, who was one of my students. Yeah, and all kinds of 3D stuff to help the students visualize, and super nice. Some button cakes.
These are all coded as vector diagrams. They're really, really beautiful.
Yeah, she did them in a really robust way where you can scale them and they don't get grainy if you scale them. Like you just zoom forever. She did a really good job.
They can theoretically be edited too. Like we could change labels and stuff like that. So
right, yeah. I handed her a bunch of scribbles on napkins, literally on napkins because we were at a coffee shop. And then she made these. Yeah, she did a wonderful job. But so that was the kind of how the book became a book. Um, the What was really cool at the old bookstore, um, they used to sell print copies of this just for printing costs. So the faculty support would send it just up the road to Office Max. They would get it printed, and then the bookstore would sell it for $12, right? That was literally just printing cost plus I think I don't know, a 10% markup or something for overhead in the bookstore. To my horror, then when bookstore changed management, suddenly they don't work with Office Max anymore. They have Xanadu. They have to work with Xanadu. And it was $40 when I walked it last semester to the bookstore, which I'm like, this is not what an OER should sell for, right? This is not saying, hey, we're just charging for printing. So that was sad. Fortunately, though, these days now we're post remote, so most of the students are really comfortable actually just using it as a PDF. Either pulling pages into OneNote and writing with a stylus, or pulling pages into Notability, or just viewing it on a screen, whether it's a tablet or just a laptop or Chromebook or whatever it might be. So, and then sometimes working on paper while they view it on the screen. So it works both as e-text or as print, even though right now our in-house printing options are unfortunately expensive. But then as far as React, so that's sort of the book. That was sort of phase one, was just making the book. Phase two then is I would say what we're in now, which is ancillaries, right? So the ancillaries started with our fabulous affiliate faculty who teaches the night section, Joe Darshevsky. He just on his own just started making slides out of the book, right? So that's one of the nice things about LaTeX. You code it in LaTeX. It's very editable. It's very, you can grab this and shove it over there and copy and paste. And it's not like where it's just locked as a PDF and is really hard to edit. So it's it's built in a pretty robust way. So Joe just started making slides because he wanted to for his class, and then we were remote, and so then he started recording videos. He started narrating his slideshows, and the slides are just pulled from the text. So it's really nice because now they have this textbook and they have this slideshow and these lectures that match the textbook exactly, right? The materials couldn't be more seamlessly integrated. It's lined up as beautifully as you would have, if you had videos from a commercial publisher, right? Then go ahead.
Oh, and then of course we decided to go back and rewrite a bunch of the sections.
Yes, exactly. So right, so now we're kind of making version 2 of the book, which means now Joe is going to make version 2 of all the video lectures, right, to make them still match, because we're using the text for a couple of years, and especially using the text with new instructors, right? It's not just me teaching out of it. Joe had feedback from his use with it. Aaron has taught out of the book and had feedback from his students and from him personally. And so that's why we're kind of making version 2, like, this section was a little muddy, or, this section, it was clear in my head how I wanted it presented, but to someone who isn't me, it wasn't clear what the flow was, right? So we're getting it. I think I'm really excited about where it's at. Over winter break, we've been doing a lot of work on it. And I think version 2 is going to be pretty fabulous. And Joe is rebuilding the video lectures to match it again. The other thing we're doing that integrates with this project is there 3 years ago, CCC Online gave a big grant to a few faculty to set up Webwork for the whole CCCS system. So any CCCS member institution, they can use Webwork, which is essentially, if you've ever used My Math Lab, or
I talked a little bit about
Was it?
I sort of talked about what Webwork is and showed it off just a little bit.
Oh, good. Oh, you showed that a little. Beautiful. Yeah. So what's really nice is Webwork. It was always a good system. It was sometimes hard to implement because you had to provide your own server and your own hosting, right? That's what was different. Saying if you used Edfinity or Lumen, you don't have to be your own tech support, right? Instead, Edfinity or Lumen, that's what you pay that fee. And then they provide that for you, and now you can customize your own homework assignments in Edfinity and Lumen. Webwork is completely free, so there's no fee to the students at all. It's completely customizable. You can write your own questions or use problems from a library as they came. The disadvantage is you have to provide your own hosting, right? You have to have your own web server. What was beautiful about this grant from CCC Online is CCC Online agreed they will do the hosting. They have a server, and even with all the changes in CCC Online, that's not changing. That's a service they're still providing, right? They're, even though as they're phasing out teaching CCC Online classes, that service of hosting Webwork, they're doing that. That they have basically said they're going to do that perpetually. I mean, I can't promise that won't change 20 years from now or something, right? But they with no end in sight, they are providing the hosting. So they're doing all the really heavy lifting on the technology side. So now, for us, what's great is, and Bill Tankovich approved it as it's an embedded learning tool in D2L. So we have, D2L communicates with it. The students, it's just a link. They don't have a separate login for Webwork, nothing like that. They click the link, they're in Webwork, it uses single sign-on. They could log in separately to it if they want, and it uses their S number and their password. It's just single sign-on. It also does automatic grade passback. There's no manual entry of grades. So we're in a really good place, basically. We have this version 2 of the textbook coming out. We have the version 2 matching slides and narrated lectures coming out from Joe. And then, actually just yesterday, right, we just started building the Webworks to pair with, so there'll be paired Webworks with a paired Webwork assignment with each section of the text. So it's,
our link is actually, sorry, we actually have Webwork at
this is Webwork in
range.
General. From the Mathematical Association, that's sort of their hated.
There should probably be an HTTPS on that. Let's try that one.
Thank you for the correction.
No worries.
Well, but that's an informative link too. That's like Webwork from the MAA, right? From the Mathematical Association.
To be fair, that link is much more informative than the link I gave, which I'm pretty sure the link I gave is just going to take you to a sign-on page. So,
right.
Yeah.
True. True.
But yes, if you are interested in implementing Webwork as a free homework platform for any of your classes, please reach out to Ken or I, and we would be happy to point you in the right direction. It's actually pretty easy to set up. There's definitely some hiccups along the way, but once you get it set up, and it's pretty straightforward to use. I know Ken is a relentless Luddite when it comes to technology, and he's been able to do it just fine. So I'm sure anybody can.
That's true. Yes, it's true. Just so you know that Aaron isn't just slandering with baseless claims. I mean, this is my 2020 paper planner that I put all of my events in. So even a guy who still fills out a paper planner manually, even that guy can use Webwork successfully. So that's right.
I thought you were going to show like the Zach Morris brick cellular phone from Saved by the Bell. Sorry.
With like a big antenna. Great. That's great. Fabulous. But that's the state of things. We're also hoping to bring Calc 1 to a similar state by the end of spring. We have OER mini grants on both Calc 1 and Calc 2, me and Aaron, and Joe also for Calc 2. So we hope to get Calc 1 and Calc 2 both to that state by the end of spring, and we'll be presenting these materials to online, right? We're looking at building, right? The development of those online courses is happening soon, right? Maybe in 201, 202 is happening very soon. So we'll hope, hopefully soon we'll be showing them off to you, Andrew, and to Amy Nunnally and everybody. So that's where we're going from here. So, and of course, if anyone at Larimer or Westminster is interested, of course, they're available to anyone who wants them. In the past, Westminster in particular wasn't interested because there wasn't a paired online homework platform. They were worried with these materials, are there enough opportunities for the students to get enough volume of practice? Totally valid concern. So I'm optimistic now that we're building the Webwork section by section. We'll kind of re-present it to not only online but also to Westminster and Larimer and say, hey, look, we've got it. We've got endless practice.
And be completely fair to Westminster, that was actually an active problem with the text in the first version of it. Certainly.
No,
there
absolutely.
was the in-class stuff was super, super robust and awesome. But the biggest thing I ran into running the class with it was that there just weren't enough practice problems for students to work on. So that's something that we've been addressing in particular.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, in no way was it a baseless question. It was a very legitimate
yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. And in my own class, what I was doing was I was backfilling that by, I've taught this class 10, 20 times, whatever it's been. And each semester I always write fresh tests. I never reuse my tests. So how I was backfilling that like extra volume of practice problems is I would just provide all my old tests, right? And it worked fine for me personally, but it's kind of a janky thing to do. It's like here's a test and then here's my handwritten solutions to it. So like to present that to some other instructor and you're like, oh yeah, I'm using this guy's handwritten solutions to I don't know, right? It feels a little sketchy. So even though it worked fine for my own students, but so no, it was a super valid concern on Westminster's part. So it was good feedback. I mean, it was part of what motivated me to when the Webwork grant came out to say, oh, that's exactly what we need. Let's do it. So yeah.
And directions that we're planning on going from here, as mentioned, we're working on the Calc 1 stuff as well. There is a text written for Calc 1 that we are expanding in the same way that we are expanding the Calc 2 text right now. I am in the planning stages of building a similar text for pre-calculus that I've been working on adapting lecture notes, and I'm sort of in the phase where I have like Ken said, he had all the bricks. I have most of the bricks. I just needed the mortar still. And I know that we're thinking about things for 204 Calc 3 and 266 differential equations and linear algebra. 266 is a really important one actually because it's a course that we have really strong transfer agreements with like CU Boulder, CSU, and CU Denver, and Mines, I think, where they'll actually accept the course as both differential equations and linear algebra for programs. So it's a very popular class among students. So being able to expand our offerings of that class would be really great. Oh, yes, the Triumphs projects are amazing. Don't get Ken started on those. He'll go for hours.
Those are OER adventures in calculus.
Those are OER. Yeah.
Let me just put the link. I'll just put I'll just put the link.
So this is for those who aren't privy to the Triumph stuff. Their PSPs, their primary source problems or primary source projects that are developed. Basically, they are a way of teaching fundamental topics in courses through primary source methods. So learning calculus from Euler, learning how to make graphs and statistics from Playfair, that sort of thing. They're fantastic. If you teach a math class, there are PSPs that would work. I've had great experiences with them in college algebra, in pre-calculus, in calculus. I'm looking forward to. I've had great experience in statistics. I'm looking forward to using them in differential equations this semester. Yeah, please. The PSPs are amazing. More people should use them.
And these are also OERs. These are totally. Yes. You can always contact the author. All the authors have agreed. Anyone who contacts me, I will send them the source code, and you can, so if you see one of these and you're like, man, I love it, but it's just too long, right? I don't have this kind of. Who has this kind of time? This thing's 24 pages, right? And you're like, you know what? Let me just do the first section, right? You can just do the first section. They're totally editable. So.
Mm-hmm. And on the other side of that, there is a book coming out too, right?
But also sorry, say that again.
There is a book of them coming out too, right?
Yes. That the time frame on that though is not soon.
I kind of
they're soon. There's going to be a 4-volume series under the MAA Classroom Resource Materials regarding Triumph's PSPs. Volume 1 is basically all stuff we don't teach at community college. So volume 1 is going to be topology, complex analysis, and real analysis. So volume 1 is great if you have friends and colleagues at 4-year institutions who teach those courses. Tell them about it. It'll be fabulous. But volume 1 should be coming out in a year or so. Volume 2, which will be the calculus and differential equations volume, that will be coming out maybe in, I would say, 2 years. by the time everything happens. So volume 3 is going to be then teacher prep volume. So basically, including statistics. So statistics and elementary number theory, that kind of stuff.
But even without the books,
those.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. And volume 4 then is going to be number theory, more as like upper level undergraduate number theory. So sorry, go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, and even without the books, though, those projects are totally available. They're if you look up Triumph's PSPs, they will come up. Also, they're just an awesome resource, and I highly suggest people explore them. And again, if you want to reach out to someone and talk to someone about those, you can talk to either Ken or me, and be happy to help you out with getting started with them and make some recommendations on ones that fit well in the classes that we've used in the past. So we've got about 10 minutes here, not to step on Shay's hosting role, but I figured this would be a decent time to open up the floor to questions. If anybody has any questions about our adventures with OER and what that's been like, or what we struggled with, or anything like that.
And for those of you who are in the room, please feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to just ask and not put it in the chat. That's totally fine.
Sorry, say that again, Shay?
Oh, I was just saying to everyone in the room that, can you hear me okay, Ken?
What? Yes, he said feel free to unmute.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Stacy.
I can hear you.
I'm going to go ahead and throw my email in the chat too, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm currently neck deep in the Calc 2 stuff, but I have worked on a lot of different projects with a lot of different hats for a lot of different OER adaptations at this point. I've worked on stuff for 166, 125, 201, 202, 266, etc. So please reach out, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, you actually have a lot more breadth than I do in terms of OER with, you've actually taught courses out of Lumen materials.
Mm-hmm. I've used Lumen, Affinity, and Webwork, so I know exactly what's wrong with all of those systems at this point.
Right.
They're all a little bit janky in different ways, unfortunately, but they're all cheaper than Pearson still.
Yeah, especially Webwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that has been a little bit frustrating from the perspective of adapting OERs is that it's this weird thing where the competition from Lumen and Affinity has caused Pearson to drive down prices, right? Pearson was $120 a couple of years ago. Now I think they're at $65 for my MathLabs access or something like that. And at the same time, Lumen and Affinity have been slowly creeping upwards between, the bookstore fee and all that stuff. I think my Affinity price the actual price to students in the bookstore this semester is $44, $42 or something like that. Which is, that's starting to make that gap shrink and shrink and shrink. Yeah. The inclusive access agreements are super sneaky and they're good on some ends, but man, they're a little bit sneaky because it's one of those things where they're taking the money from the students without the students even realizing that they're paying the money at that point. So that can be a little bit weird, but also it means that everybody actually just has the materials, which is really good. So I'm of two minds about inclusive access.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it was awesome to see how the OER movement has took that took that price point right from the commercial publishers and shoved it way down. I mean, that was really nice.
I have a
So
question for you guys.
yeah.
How do you feel about systems that aren't like the traditional online homework? So like I use Desmos a lot and I make it more interactive or exploratory instead
So
of just do a problem. But I also have the do a problems.
Right. I love Desmos. I have not taken the time to spend a ton of time with Teacher Desmos, but what I have done with it, I've always been really, really satisfied with. I think it fits extremely well, especially their exploratory exercises. Like they're a really awesome thing. If I remember correctly, when I was playing around with materials and sort of like exploring materials, their materials were much stronger for. Like they had a ton of stuff for like algebra and geometry and those sorts of classes, but I think at the time I was looking, they hadn't filled in a bunch of calculus stuff yet. That may have changed, or I may have not looked in the right
You just
place.
need to find the secret playlist.
Yeah, right. But
I've got the
I love
166
Desmos.
worked out if you need
Nice.
calc.
Yeah, I might have to talk to you about that because I would love to have some extra stuff there. But yeah, I love Desmos. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, and it's free still.
Yep, still free.
They do make their profit. They're selling curriculum to middle schoolers at the moment.
Okay.
So they're selling middle school curriculum, but it's still free for use if you want to create something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really awesome platforms. I always wanted to do more stuff like that, and then I realized, like, I always pictured this idea of like, for transformations of functions to do like a physics-based, sort of like marble machine where you're like dropping marbles down parabolas and stuff and trying to make jumps and stuff. And it turns out that Desmos literally has that. Like,
they have it in every function.
Yeah, they have it in every single function. They're called
periodic
like marble slides or
exponential
something.
lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you basically, the
it's
students,
fun.
they end up typing in the functions to try and get the marbles to a specific point. It's really, really cool. So yeah, Desmos is rad.
Regarding Desmos too, I want to share a link and a name. So at Colomatic 2 years ago, at the
I remember
we had
talk.
an OER themed a Colomatic meeting at BCC 2 years ago, it was like March 14th, I think, of 2020, right? And then like hard lockdown came on like March 17th. It was like 2-3 days before that everything exploded. Marky Alagar at Ames, she gave a presentation specifically on building custom Desmos activities for the classroom. Hers were all free to the student. It was in the free portion of Desmos, and her stuff was really cool. She had really good stuff developed. Hers, I want to say, were mostly at the 121, 166 level, I think, were her materials. But she made it clear at that presentation. She's like, yeah, I love to share this stuff. Tell anyone, contact me if they're curious. And she was super happy to share what she had done. So but yeah, so I put the name and link. She's I would say the person I've seen who has like gone the furthest has like explored the most functionality, and she's a local fellow community college faculty, not in CCCS, but she's still a local 2-year college warrior. So I think she's who I would say who I've seen who's like most experienced with that as a tool. So.
All right. So with that said, we'll go ahead and wrap up this presentation. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Ken, and thank you for everyone who came in to participate, to listen, and to throw some things in the chat. It is greatly appreciated. This part of the mini conference will be recorded, and we'll post that all together and make the link available to you all in the coming weeks. So we'll keep you posted on that. So yes, with that said, thanks again for attending, everyone, and please enjoy your weekend before Tuesday comes.
And again, feel free to reach out. I love talking about OER, and I would love if you're thinking about starting to make the plunge on it, or even if you just want to bounce some ideas off, or chat about materials or anything for whatever class. I would love to talk and give you feedback or whatever. So please reach out. Yeah.
It's super fun. It's a fun. That's the other thing that's fun about doing OER is like you're diving into it's not just a good project that helps your students, but you're diving into a very fun community. Like it's a people who work on it. I mean, the whole point is we share things and none of us are in competition with each other, right? That's like the whole premise, right? So it's very like, it's just a really fun and supportive community. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks to the organizers for putting together the conference. I always get happy when I see OER themed meetings happening. So thanks.
Yes. All right. Take care, everyone.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Stay warm.